Now, having access to the integrated Dell Remote Access Controller, or iDRAC, makes changing BIOS settings really easy. I'm going to go ahead and log into iDRAC now. Now that I've successfully logged in, the first thing I'm going to do is launch the virtual console. I'm going to reboot this host so that I can enter the BIOS setup. Great, now we're at the System Setup main menu, so I'm going to go ahead and look at the System BIOS settings. One of the first things I like to check is system information. This is a quick and easy way for me to find out what version of the BIOS I'm currently using. Now we'll take a quick look at the memory settings. Now here I want to make sure that node interleaving has been disabled. This effectively enables non-uniform memory access. Now we're ready to look at processor settings. And one of the key parameters that I'm checking for here is that virtualization technology has been enabled. Now we'll go ahead and look at SATA settings. Now, since I'm using a SATA DOM device as a boot device, I want to make sure that AHCI mode has been enabled. Now we want to look at boot settings to make sure that we're booting from the correct device. Now, although I'll be installing ESX on the hard drive, I'm going to go ahead and boot from a Pixie server in order to do the installation. So I'm going to leave my boot sequence to start with the network interface card first. Now, if you have both local disks and an SD card device, you're going to want to set the boot device correctly, and that's easy to do here. Under Integrated Devices, you want to make sure that you disable any components that you're not going to use, specifically network cards. On my servers, I'm not planning on using the onboard 1 gigabit network cards, so I'm going to make sure that that's disabled here. Now, System Profile Settings is where we'll select our power management. Now, you want to refer to your hardware vendor for the best option to choose for your installation of ESX. Now, the next thing we'll need to look at are the iDRAC settings. Let's first take a look at the system summary. The summary screen gives me an opportunity to check the firmware version, and it also gives me the ability to make sure that IP version 4 has been enabled. Now, the network settings are going to be the most important thing that we need to look at on the iDRAC settings. And here I want to make sure that IPMI has been enabled so that I can access this iDRAC remotely and execute IPMI commands such as powering on or powering off the system. I also want to make sure that I've manually assigned an IP address that I'll be able to reach so that I can configure the system or launch the console before ESX is installed. And finally, we're going to go into device settings to make sure that we've selected the correct physical disk to boot from. Under the controller management option, we'll be able to select the boot device. Now, if I look at the physical disk management option, I'll be able to verify that I've chosen the correct boot disk. Now that I've configured all of the BIOS settings that I need to change for my system, I'll go ahead and exit and reboot, and that'll conclude this video.